If you are working on any project that requires 3D anime character models, then this video is for you. Now you might be really tempted to create entire characters from scratch in Blender, but unless your goal is to become a 3D character modeler, that is really not the optimal approach, because there's some really great software you can use to get the base character from them and then tweak that in Blender to get whatever you like, and it can be really quick, or just getting them in Blender, because we'll be mostly using Vroid Studio. Vroid Studio is a free software. I'm pretty sure you can use it commercially for free as well. However, before that, this video is sponsored by Lumiscend, so you better subscribe. So let's start by downloading the Vroid Studio. You can find the link in the description to download that. Once you open Vroid Studio, you are going to see a screen like this. Now they do provide some sample models that you can use. You can just click on them to download, and then you can use them and customize them however you like. There we go. Navigation in Vroid Studio is really simple. You just middle mouse button to pan around. You can use right click to turn around the character, and you can use scroll wheel to zoom in and zoom out. That is really it. Now one of the things I really love about Vroid Studio is that there are just so many presets already built into Vroid. You can just go around checking all of them however you like. You can see there is just a ton of them. You can also use separate things like iris or eyelashes, right? And you can just go around and customize however you like. There are also hair presets, ton of hair presets, and then you can go in the body section in order to customize the body. Now there is a pretty decent chance that you might not be able to get the exact thing you like, because there are just not enough sliders, I think, for the body. You can get pretty close to your liking for the face. However, I really do think that there are not enough sliders for body. That is one of the limitations for using Vroid. However, we can tweak that in Blender, because Blender is really great at doing that kind of stuff. We also get a lot of clothing presets. You can also add accessories. Now you might think, even though there are many presets, there is not something you really want or something that you were looking for. In that case, there is a great website called booth.pm. You can use that and you can download stuff from there and then import it into Vroid Studio. There is a lot of free stuff, you can check that out. So for our tutorial, I'm going to start with a base. You can use male or female. Alright, there is our base character, you can see that. I always like to just go and get the face right first. Now once you have selected your presets, then you can just go around and mess with the sliders. So when you are done with customizing the face, I usually like to add some hair. Now although there are many hair presets, if you want you can just create something new from scratch by going to the custom item and creating new custom item, then going to edit hairstyle, and by going to this brush icon you can draw the hair. It is actually much simpler than doing this in Blender. You can just go ahead and customize it however you like. You can also add different groups. You can decide thickness and all that. You can just mess around to figure out whatever you like. But I am not going to be creating the custom hair. I will just use one of the preset they already have. Let's just go with the simpler ones. Now it is time for editing the body. You can decide the texture for the body. It's not texture, it's like shadows for the bodies from one of these presets. You can always add new stuff, and as always there are all these sliders. You can move around and then you can choose the outfit. Yeah, that works. And then you can go to the export and you can export it as VRM. If you are going to be using it in a game engine, then I would highly recommend you smoothing the hair out and getting the materials a little bit shorter, because it will make the performance in the game engine a little bit better. Although I'm just going to use it for a normal animation, so I really don't want to be messing around with this. Alright, then you can go to export. I usually like to use the VRM 1.0. You can give it any name, test avatar, and you can add version if you want, and you can add your name and export, and you can save it to whichever folder you like. And there we go, it is done. Now I usually forget to save these avatars and it can really be bad, so yeah, be sure to save those. I really don't need this, so I'm not going to save it. Alright, so after you have opened the Blender, you are going to go to edit, preferences, and you are going to go to extension, and you are going to search for VRM, and you are going to install it. I have already installed it, so it says update, but you are going to click on the install to install it. Now after you have installed it, be sure to save preferences, and then you can press F4 and go to import, and you should see VRM and VRM animation. We are going to click on VRM, and you can locate to wherever you exported the VRM file and open. It should take a moment depending on your PC, but it should be here, as you can see. And we also have rig. Now if you are doing a simple animation, this rig alone is pretty good. You should be able to do more stuff with it. However, if you want a proper rigify rig, or like proper rig with controllers, then there are, I think, two main approaches. One of them is paid and the other one is free. I'm going to show you both of them, alright? So the first approach is going to be using AutoRig Pro. AutoRig Pro have this really great feature called Quick Rig. You can go to import and use Vroid. For some reason using this one, Vroid Catfix, isn't working for me, so I'm not sure why that isn't working, but you can just use Vroid one, the normal Vroid one, and that works fine for me. And then you can click on Quick Rig and OK, and it should take a moment, but it should be there. As you can see, it is here. That was all we had to do. However, AutoRig Pro costs like $60, and then you have to also get Quick Rig after that, so it is quite an investment if you are not doing it for like professional work, I guess. But as I said, there are two main approaches, and the other one is completely free and you can use that. It is pretty close to the result you get from AutoRig Pro. However, it does have few steps that you have to do. So now let's talk about the second approach. I have provided a link in the description and you can download the add-on from there. Once you have downloaded that, you can go to the edit, preferences and add-ons, and you can install from this. Go to the directory where you have downloaded, and you should see VRM to Mixamo Renamer. And the other add-on that we are going to need is called Mixamo Rig, that you can just get from this extension tab. I have already installed it. Once you have both of them installed, you will press N to open this menu and you will locate VRM tools. Alright, now you will click on your armature and click on VRM to Mixamo, and you should get this thing where it renames all the bonds. Then you will go to the Mixamo tab, and while your armature is selected, create control rig, press OK, and you should get a good rig. Now as you can see, some of those things are not quite working, which you can obviously just go and manually change. Let's make it a little bit smaller as well, like that. Okay, I am going to hide the colliders, get the textures. Now as you can see, the hair bonds and the skirt bonds are not given the controllers, but you generally are not going to be animating those. You'll use the physics, you'll just use the trigger physics on those, so that should be fine. You do get some of these like weirdly rotated controllers and you will need to do those manually, but if you don't mind having like slightly rotated controllers, then you should be fine. You can just go ahead and start animating. Items tab, you should find the IKFK switch and you can switch between those. You can also keyframe that. So that was how you get your VRM model from Vroid to Blender and also get a rig. Now you can just go ahead and animate it however you like, create all the crazy animations you wanted. So that was all for this video and I will see you next week. Bye.